the holiday season, and for many, it is the time of the year in which one can rejoice in the coming of a new year. It is a time of laughter, singing, and music. A time for family to come together, to feast, to be merry, to celebrate. And celebrated it is, worldwide. Now, of course, these celebrations vary by country, and many are joyous events for everyone. But, with that said, can anyone in the Netherlands tell me, what the hell is this shit? I already know what you're gonna say.
It's not racist, it's our tradition. And if black people don't like it, well, they can just kiss my ass.
Truth is stranger than fiction, folks. The type of madness people around the world will invoke is amazing. They don't give a damn about the truth if it means ruining their precious, pretentious rituals. The Dutch could have abandoned this crazy-ass tradition a long time ago, and maybe their children would not have had to grow up with such crappy, ugly display of Zwarte Pieten, the Black Peets. I'm sure many of you have never heard of this Black Pete till now, and you have probably developed your own opinion about it already. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if they had buried this character years ago, but they haven't. There are people still doing this stupid shit, in spite of protest. Ignorance is bliss, but at this point in time, there should not be a single person in Holland who does not know what the Black Pete character really is. Or they have a misunderstanding of what this whole fiasco that they hold every December is really all about. Are these people really that dumb? And do they really think that other people are dumb enough to trust their reasoning? So where does this Zwarte Piet come from? And why is his face black? Now, what you are going to constantly hear from the Holland government and many of its citizens is this.
Oh, his face is black because he's been going up and down chimneys all day, and that's why his face is black from the suit. The suit, yeah.
So, Black Pete is a helper of St. Nicholas, or in this case, Sinterklaas. Not Santa Claus, Sinterklaas. This is where the whole Santa Claus idea comes from. And they say that Black Pete enters the homes of children through the chimney to either leave the children tokens or candy, or to throw them in a sack, kidnap and murder them, and then eat them. Sound familiar? They say his face is black from the soot of the chimney. And I can tell you that this is an absolute 100% lie.
It's not a lie. It started back in 1850 when this guy wrote a book and...
No, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. His face is not black from chimney suits, folks. Black Pete's face is black because he is black. That's what the word Zwarte literally translates to. Negro. A black person. And Pieten means helper or specialist, an expert. They try to mess with people's heads, trying to get them to believe that Pete is a name, and it's not. It's not Black Pete. You can't sit there and translate one word and not the other and expect no one to notice. It's Black Helper. And the truth is that this character is actually a black slave. You see, you know what? Let's start from the beginning. Now, the oldest human remains have been found in Africa, but the first civilization known to exist was in Mesopotamia, Sumer. These were extremely educated and technologically advanced people. Are you with me so far? People who are indigenous to this area normally have brown skin, and I'm sure it varied from light brown to dark brown. So, when people began to migrate outside of this area, some went north, some went south, some went east, their genes mutated. This is perfectly normal. It's what the body does to adapt to a new environment. The skin changes, the bone structure changes, the hair changes, the eye color changes. This takes generations, of course. And the people who went south into Africa got darker, the people who went north got lighter, and not only did the people who went north get lighter, but they became isolated from the rest of the world for some time. This was not good, because they actually lost their education. All that technology they had, gone. Math skills, reading and writing skills, gone. Their construction skills, gone. All due to war. All they did was fight, everywhere, over food and land. They all lived in crummy villages and little huts and shacks. They couldn't build anything nice, because someone would come by the next day and burn it to the ground. They didn't wash, they would just let their hair lock up, and all they did was just fight and fuck, and eat, and steal land from their neighbor. Now, the reason this happened at all is because the people who went north were lacking many of the natural resources they once had in their earlier days when they were living in Mesopotamia. When your population continues to increase and you don't have enough resources to go around, it causes problems. Now, meanwhile, the people who went south into North Africa did not suffer the same fate. They were, in fact, rich and had more resources than they knew what to do with. They had technology, organized religion, schools, cities, the works. But I guess none of that makes for a better person, as they also fought over food and they also fought over land. And these educated warriors began to conquer the known world. They were described as having dark skin, dark eyes, curly dark hair, and strong facial features. They were known to the northern Europeans as the Moors. The Moors had conquered Arabia, most of the Middle East, as far as India, and all across North Africa, right up into Spain. Now, they didn't conquer Europe, but they sure did go into it, bringing gifts. They brought education, they brought reading and writing, they brought technology. They even brought animals like lions. You see, you can't have a lion in the Colosseum unless you get it from Africa. So, the Moors did all these things and took white slaves, and they were in control for a long time. Needless to say, the Moors were eventually fought off and then became enslaved themselves. After that, began the transatlantic slave trade. Some slaves were brought to South America, some to North America, some to Europe, and some of those slaves were brought to the Netherlands by boat. So, we've arrived at this point, folks, and you should have a fairly good understanding of who this black helper is now. He is the representation of the Islamic Moors that were killed and enslaved by Christian military forces. That's why this black helper has red lips, gold hoop earrings, and black curly hair, wearing Spanish clothing. So, every year now, St. Nicholas, who is from Turkey, but somehow lives in Spain, who is dead by the way, travels to Holland, bringing a steamboat load of black slaves, or helpers if that makes you feel better, to hand out sweets to children as part of Holland's annual shenanigans, in utter disregard for the black people who live there. And this event often ends in violent protest. Now, they've tried to change the look of Black Pete several times, but they should just take him out altogether. Like Krampus, no one should be dressing up as a character that abducts, beats, and eats children, good or bad. People try to change history all the time by rewriting the story and adding and subtracting things that were not originally there. As for Zwarte Piet, they can paint this guy any color they want, change the story a million times, but they will never be able to change the truth.